Welcome to Arcadia Dyslexia Africa, the only bilingual channel for the fight against dyslexia in Africa. Misconceptions and Scientific Realities About Dyslexia from dyslexics.org. Misconception 7. Dyslexia is a visual problem causing letter reversals, floating text, and distorted print. Scientific Reality. A 2024 survey of 275 dyslexia professionals, Daniel, Klukas, and Wang, Durham University, revealed persistent belief in visual myths, despite a lack of supporting evidence. Research shows no visual differences between dyslexic and non-dyslexic children. Mills, 2005, BBC, 2015. Moreover, font and color modifications, e.g., Comic Sans, Dyslexia font, have limited value compared to systematic phonics instruction. Severs, 2020, Wiley Library, Dyslexia Journal. Misconception 8. Brain scans show that dyslexic brains work differently. Scientific Reality. Neuroimaging consistently shows that when people struggle to read, their brain activity patterns differ from fluent readers, unsurprising since reading is a learned skill. When taught effectively, poor readers' brain patterns align with typical readers. McGinnis, 2006, Simos et al., 2002, Yanchiva et al., 2015. Elliott and Gibbs, 2008, cautioned against claiming a distinct neurobiological category for dyslexia based on current evidence. Misconception 9. Dyslexics have abnormal brain symmetry in the planum temporale. Scientific Reality. This theory originated from dissection studies of a small number of brains without a consistent diagnostic standard. McGinnis, 1998, page 118. Noted that 35% of the population naturally have symmetrical brains, rendering symmetry neither pathological nor diagnostic. Misconception 10. Short-term memory deficit is a hallmark of dyslexia. Scientific Reality. Although often cited, poor short-term memory is neither universal among dyslexics nor predictive of reading outcomes. In Torgerson's study, only a minority of severely struggling readers had poor short-term memory. Mills, 2007. Misconception 11. Dyslexia is an incurable brain defect. Scientific Reality. Longitudinal research shows dyslexia classifications often shift over time, undermining notions of permanence. Shaywitz et al., Connecticut Longitudinal Study, McGinnis, 1998. Intervention studies such as those by Valutino, Fletcher, and Snowling, 2004, demonstrated that with explicit, systematic phonics instruction, the majority of children initially identified as dyslexic can learn to read effectively. Murphy and Murphy, 2020, similarly highlighted the power of high-fidelity phonics programs. Misconception 12. Dyslexics compensate for difficulties in phonemic awareness and decoding by being naturally gifted in creativity or visual spatial skills. Examples often cited. Celebrity chef Jamie Oliver, who has dyslexia himself, once remarked that children with the condition are actually lucky. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book David and Goliath, refers to dyslexia as a desirable difficulty, a notion critiqued in Professor Siedenberg's Language at the Speed of Sight, see pages 178 to 185. The organization Made by Dyslexia has suggested that dyslexia can be a blessing. The Times, October 2020. A Telegraph article, July 2022, featured the headline, "Why Dyslexia is Not a Disorder, but an Evolutionary Advantage," claiming that people with dyslexia naturally excel at innovation, discovery, and creativity. What the evidence says. While this idea may offer emotional comfort, it largely stems from personal anecdotes rather than scientific proof. As one parent of a dyslexic child put it, being unable to read isn't a gift or a superpower, and suggesting otherwise isn't helpful. Amanda, via Twitter X. Miriam Fain echoed this consign, saying, "There's no evidence linking dyslexia to these talents. It might feel good to believe it, but accuracy matters, especially when these ideas could have unintended negative effects." Twitter X. The late Martin Turner, former head of psychology at Dyslexia Action, strongly opposed this myth. He described it as a travesty to frame dyslexia as a bonus, given the distress it causes. It's a myth that there are compensatory talents. Dyslexics flock to the visual arts not because they are especially creative, but because they are stressed. Jardine, 2001. A review by Dr. Rice and Professor Brooks arrived at a similar conclusion. They noted that although the belief that reading difficulties are often accompanied by extraordinary gifts may seem appealing, rigorous research offers little to no support for it. Rice and Brooks, 2004, page 18. A University of Edinburgh study tested whether people with reading challenges possessed enhanced creativity. Results showed the opposite. Stronger reading abilities actually correlated with greater creativity, even when IQ was taken into account. A recent Chilean study also investigated this link, finding no support for the idea that reading disabilities are associated with improved creative performance. As the Telegraph once put it, there's now a war of words about whether dyslexia is a curse or a blessing. Leah Hardy, October 2020. Misconception 13. Dyslexia can be precisely diagnosed by an educational psychologist or specialist teacher using special tests. Scientific reality. There is currently no scientifically validated test that can reliably distinguish between those with dyslexia and other poor readers. Educationalist Elliott, 2005, stated, "After decades working as a teacher, educational psychologist, and academic, I lack confidence in my own or anyone else's ability to accurately diagnose dyslexia, TES." Joanna Stambridge, a senior educational psychologist, 2022, noted the ongoing problem. Not only is it impossible to define a clear subgroup of struggling readers as dyslexic, but having the label doesn't meaningfully alter how to support a young person's literacy needs. Research has shown widespread misconceptions among those who assess for dyslexia. Because no universally accepted operational or legal definition exists in England, Singleton, 2009, page 16, specialist assessments often avoid using a FIME diagnosis. Instead, reports typically describe specific weaknesses in phonological development, see misconception 2, or use vague, non-committal phrases like a pattern of difficulties characteristic of dyslexia, a dyslexic profile, or at risk for dyslexia SPLD, see misconception 5. Misconception 14. Dyslexia exists in every country. Scientific reality. In English-speaking nations, reading accuracy tests are the primary and sometimes only tool for measuring reading skills and identifying dyslexia, McGuinness, 2002. In countries with transparent orthographies, like Austria, Finland, and Greece, almost no one reads words inaccurately, Seymour, 2007, page 299. As a result, reading accuracy tests aren't used. Instead, reading fluency and comprehension are assessed. Consequently, what is labeled dyslexia in English-speaking countries means something entirely different elsewhere. McGuinness, 2002. Seymour, 2007, page 297. Stringer, 2009, argue that if dyslexia were a universally existing condition, nations like Nicaragua and South Korea wouldn't have achieved new perfect literacy rates. Misconception 15. In transparent alphabetic writing systems, dyslexia can be diagnosed by testing reading speed and comprehension, since people with this brain difference read accurately but slowly. A recent group of researchers published a new definition, known as the Delphi definition, which acknowledges reading fluency as a core feature. One contributor, Carol, explained, "We wanted to emphasize that dyslexia can still be present when accuracy is intact, but fluency is affected." Pearson-Hager, 2025. Scientific reality. In transparent orthographies, while some children do struggle, it usually involves reading fluency and comprehension, and even then, the issue is relative. McGuinness, 2002. When Landl, Wimmer, and Frith, 1997, compared dyslexic children in Austria and England, the Austrian children read far more accurately and twice as fast as their English counterparts. As McGuinness, 2004, pointed out, slow reading is context-dependent. Optimal reading rates vary between writing systems. Reading speed isn't a standalone ability. It depends on accuracy, text complexity, and language proficiency, EII, pages 191 to 2, GRB, page 14. When reading skills are so closely tied to a writing system, it makes no sense to regard poor reading or dyslexia as a fixed trait in the child, McGinnis, 2002. Professor Schutz added that reading fluency isn't something you can teach directly. It develops as a byproduct of effective reading instruction.